Joel Cacace aka Joe Waverly had been the acting boss of the Colombo crime family as well as the organization's former consigliere. Cacace had been involved in extortion, illegal gambling, and the hijacking and selling of truckloads of cigarettes. On December 20th, 1976, Joel Cacace, then 35 years old, was ambushed by three robbers near his florist shop at 1322 Avenue U in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. They were after the $2,900 in receipts that he was carrying. The three men approached Cacace as he left his shop and announced that they were police officers. Cacace, suspicious, tried to resist but was forced into the back seat of a stolen Mustang. One man, pointing a gun at Cacace, climbed in next to him and the other two jumped into the front seat. Cacace grabbed the man seated beside him and opened fire, killing the robber next to him, Vincent Davide, and wounding the driver who screamed out, "I'm shot." The Mustang then slammed into another car as the robbers in the front returned fire, hitting Cacace twice. The third man, who was in the front in the passenger's seat, leaped out of the car and disappeared. Cacace was shot in the chest and hands, but drove to a Coney Island police station with the robber's body in the back seat. When Carmine Persico, the imprisoned boss of the family, wanted federal prosecutor William Ehrenwald murdered for being what Persico said was disrespectful, he called Cacace to do the job in 1987. Ehrenwald could never figure out why he had been considered disrespectful since he had not been involved in Persico's prosecution. Cacace ordered Vincent and Eddie Carini to carry out the murder by simply writing down the name Ehrenwald on a piece of paper. The Carini brothers mistakenly assumed that they were to murder George Ehrenwald, an administrative law judge who shared his son's private practice office. On March 20, 1987, they shot and killed George Ehrenwald Sr. in a laundromat near his home. The murder caused a firestorm inside the New York Mafia. The other four families were outraged since the murder and the attempted murder of an otherwise honest federal prosecutor was against the rules. The heads of the other New York 5 families demanded that the Colombos kill the Carini brothers. Cacace recruited Lucchese crime family member Carmine Varial and Bonanno crime family associate Frank Santora to eliminate the Carinis. In June 1987, both Carini brothers were found dead in the back seats of their cars in Brooklyn. Vincent Carini was found dead in the back seat of a 1982 blue Oldsmobile parked in front of a house on Avenue X in Sheepshead Bay. He had been shot 9 times in the head and back. His brother was found in the rear seat of a 1985 white Chevrolet parked a few feet away. He had been shot 4 or 5 times in the chest. Paranoid, Joel Cacace attended the Carini brothers' funeral and during the burial pointed out the 2 hitmen Frank Santora and Carmine Varial and ordered him to kill them. On September 4, 1987, Varial and Santora were standing outside a Brooklyn social club when they were shot dead. Carmine Variale, who had been one of the youngest made members of the Lucchese family. He was gunned down on Bath Avenue with Frank Santora on September 3. Variale and Santora had just left Speils social club, the Big Apple two-way radio company at 1550 Bath Avenue, before being murdered just 2 blocks from the club. It was almost 5 in the afternoon when a passenger got out of a car, went into a combat crouch and fired 3 shots at each man. The gunman then turned back, ran to the car, dived into the passenger's side window and the car sped down Bath to Bay 10th where it turned right. Carmine Variale was dead before he hit the ground. Santora was shot twice in the upper body and once in the head. He staggered bleeding into a delicatessen, turned and collapsed on the sidewalk near Variale. He was taken to Victory Memorial Hospital and pronounced dead. Pasquale Varial, Carmen's half-brother, was also killed that year. Pasquale was described by police as a wannabe mobster who hung out at a Bath Avenue social club run by a Bonanno capo Anthony Spiro, where his brother would later be shot and killed. Variale was a drug user convicted of weapons possession, had been given over $800,000 by a high-ranking member of the Bonanno family to pay off a juror in the Pizza Connection case. The detective investigating the case said the kid never made the payment. He told associates that the juror got cold feet, but he made a big mistake. He kept the money. 5 members of the Variale family had been shot gangland-style in South Brooklyn since 1975. Insult to injury, Cacace then married the 28-year-old widow of Eddie Carini, a woman named Kimberly Kinogue. Her brother was August Kenogg, a reputed Colombo soldier. He had been jailed for 25 years in 1980 for the murder-robbery of a Queens restaurateur named Nello Terzi. Kenogg and two others robbed Terzi Caesar's restaurant as it was closing up for the night. Terzi had purchased the place 2 months earlier after working for 26 years as a waiter at Mama Leon's restaurant in Manhattan. Terzi, who cooperated with the robbers, was stabbed to death anyway in front of his terrified wife. They then hit the bartender over the head and rifled the cash register of about $500 and robbed Mrs. Terzi of rings and other personal jewelry. After the Cacaces separated, the widow remarried a retired housing police officer named Ralph C. Dawes. Predictably, in 1997, Dawes ended up dead. Tommy Schatz, Gioeli arranged the murder. By August 25, 1997, Dawes had been married to Kimberly Kenogg, Cacace's ex-wife, for 2 years and was the proud father of an infant daughter, her 12-year-old son with Carini, and her 17-year-old daughter from a past relationship. A large man, he was a weightlifting enthusiast. He was well-liked on the force. Officer Chris Wright, Dawes' partner, said even the people he locked up have respect for him because he treated them with respect. Earlier in the month, a hit-and-run driver struck Dawes and injured his legs. As Dawes stood in front of his apartment on East 19th Street T at about 11:30 p.m., 2 men, wearing gloves and matching black vests, pulled up next to him, stepped out of the car and approached him, and fired 4 shots, killing him. Other reports say they fired 7 shots into Dawes. They then sped off in a stolen dark-colored Chevy Screech to a halt on East 15th Street in Sheepshead Bay and leaped into another car, its engine running, and driver waiting, and escaped into the night. The killers were Dino, Little Dino, Saraceno, although Colombo Capo Dino Big Dino Calabro later admitted to the murder. Calabro later told a jury that as they approached Dawes he asked, "What's up?" "We shot him," Calabro testified. "Multiple times. When we shot him, he fell back. I shot him. I shot him with my cousin Dino." Calabro said he blasted Dawes with a .44 caliber Magnum, while his cousin fired a .45 caliber semi-automatic. He said Dawes, covered in blood, then stumbled into the apartment house where Kenogg found him downstairs. Calabro said, "I learned that he was a cop. I seen that on the front page. We don't typically kill police officers. That's just a rule in the mafia. You don't kill kids, you don't kill cops." At first I was amazed, he testified. "I went straight to Tommy's, Gioeli, house in Farmingdale, Long Island." He said that when he walked into the house, Tommy Schatz Gioeli put his index finger to his lips in a SHHHH motion. The two hoods went for a walk outside, into a wooded area to avoid possible police surveillance. I asked him, "This guy's a cop?" Calabro recalled. He acted like he didn't know. Calabro testified he then tried to contact Cacace on a walkie-talkie, but Cacace didn't answer. A prosecutor asked, "How did you learn that Joel Cacace wanted a piece of work done?" "Tommy Gioeli told me," Calabro answered. "I wanted to be inducted into the Colombo crime family." He said that Gioeli showed Calabro where Dawes lived on East 19th Street, showed him Dawes' car, and gave Calabro a slip of paper with Dawes' license plate number written on it. "We couldn't find him at that location for a long period of time," Calabro said. "Joe Waverly, meaning Cacace, took me for a walk. He asked me, 'What's going on with that thing, because it's taking a long time?' So we really got on it after that." On December 18, 2008, Cacace was charged with ordering the Ralph Dawes murder. The indictment said that Cacace was humiliated that Dawes, a Latino, had recently married his ex-wife. On November 26, 2013, a jury acquitted Cacace on the Dawes murder charge. Also in 1987, Cacace was involved in the unrelated murder of former New York Police Department officer Carlo Antonino. Antonino was a decorated ex-cop who was killed execution-style in Brooklyn and had probably been working for the mob or, at the very least, on the mob sidelines. He had been shot twice in the head and left inside a stolen red Dodge van that had been parked in front of a building in Sheepshead Bay. Antonino was killed on the same night that Colombo associate Salvatore Scarpa was killed. Scarpa was gunned down by a ski-masked gunman during a staged robbery inside a Bensonhurst social club. Antonino, who retired from the force in 1977, had 20 commendations during an 11-year career and had worked as a private eye in Florida before returning here several years ago. During the Colombo War, in January of 1991, Cacace, who supported acting boss Victor Orena, tried to murder Greg Scarpa, who was aligned with the Persico faction. Cacace drove up next to Scarpa's car in Sheepshead Bay and fired at him several times, missing every shot. The following month, on February 26, 1992, Cacace and Scarpa went at it again, shot it out outside a social club. Cacace was opening the club when the shooting started at 9:55 in the morning. In that instance, Scarpa and another man waited in a parked station wagon outside the club and fired 14 shots from a .22 rifle at Cacace, wounding him in the stomach. Cacace, who had an arm full of dry cleaning, returned fire but did no harm. Police found Cacace carried 2 hip holsters but could not find a weapon. Before the war ended, Cacace switched sides to the winning Persico faction. On January 23, 2003, Cacace was indicted for the murders of Antonino, Ehrenwald, Varial, and Santora. On August 13, 2004, Cacace pleaded guilty to charges of extortion, illegal gambling, and the 4 murders and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Cacace's only child, Joel Jojo Cacace Jr., was said to have been made into the family as well. He died suddenly of a heart attack at age 44 in 2015. Cacace Sr. was released from prison on May 22, 2020, at age 79.